Hey everyone, Bailey Peachy here again. Welcome back to part 3 of our Trade Business Accountants Cash Flow Masterclass. Now, we're an accounting firm that only works with Australian trade and construction businesses, typically turning anywhere between $1 and $10 million a year, and we help them build greater security in their business by dramatically increasing their profits and cash. Now, the reason for this training, this masterclass, is for anyone doing less than $1 million a year. We want to help you get there so that, hey, maybe someday we can work together. And at the very least, we just want to provide you value. And for everyone above $1 million a year, we want to help you simply do better and at the very least showcase what we know, and maybe you'll consider hiring our accounting services somewhere down the line to help you do all this. So let's get back into it. Believe it or not, there are only 7 key levers that you need to focus on to increase your profitability and flood your business with more cash. And these 7 levers sit within the first 2 chapters of the story of your numbers that we just covered in part 2 of this training. Chapter 1, net profit, and chapter 2, working capital invested. To increase profit, we discuss price, volume, cost of goods sold or COGS, and every item of overheads, which are levers all found sitting on the profit and loss statement. Now, to decrease your working capital, we discuss accounts receivable days, your WIP or your stock days. So again, WIP is just works in progress. And we also discuss your accounts payable days, levers all found sitting on the balance sheet. These are the 7 levers in your business that dictate just how much cash ends up in your bank account after everything else has happened. 4 in the profit and loss, and 3 on your balance sheet. I promised you right at the start of this training that I was going to make things simple for you. So here it is. If you want to make more cash in your trade business, this is all that matters. This is all you need to focus on, because these 7 levers can literally change your business overnight. And for Ben and ABC Plumbing, they made all the difference. Picture this. It's 5 p.m. on a Friday. Everyone's gone home for the week except you, and you're sitting at your desk and you're looking at your bank account. Now, you're not happy with what you're seeing, and you've still got to cover suppliers, bills, and payroll, and hopefully pay yourself properly. And what you're looking at isn't enough, right? For all that effort, all that risk, all the blood, the sweat, the tears, you know that things should be better. Now, it's at this point that most business owners begin feeling pretty overwhelmed because they're just not that sure on exactly what they need to do, right? And that stress, that concern, that angst, it typically carries over into the weekend and often starts to affect their personal lives with friends and family outside of work. But unlike most business owners, this isn't you, because you know that at any time in your business, you can pull just one of these 7 levers to start flooding your business with more cash. You don't have to think about anything else. No more stressing about cash flow. No more scratching your head about why you're profitable on paper, but you're not making any money. No more living in the blind and running your business purely off gut feel. You know exactly what you need to do to start printing cash on demand. This is a power that only elite trade business owners have, the ability to turn on the tap, stay ahead of the cash curve, and to take back control over your income, which would have a massive impact on your life, wouldn't it? So let me show you just how powerful these 7 levers are, and just what impact they can actually have. Bringing things back right from our original case study, Ben's business, ABC Plumbing. Now, let's see what would happen in Ben's case if all we did was improve these 7 levers by just one. So that's a 1% increase in price, a 1% increase in volume, a 1% reduction in COGS, a 1% reduction in overheads, 1 day sooner in collecting cash, 1 day less in holding stock or getting paid for works in progress 1 day sooner, and 1 day later paying suppliers. Now, a 1% increase in price can improve cash flow by $27,000. So that means from this example, if Ben increased his prices across the board by just 1%, he'd have an extra $27,000 worth of cash, which is huge. Now moving on to volume, if Ben was to increase volume by 1%, he'd reduce cash flow by $3,600. So that means for every 1% increase in growth, Ben would lose $3,600 in cash, even though profit is expected to improve by $10,000. Now, how counterintuitive is that? Volume is up, profit is up, but cash is going down. This is what I was just saying in part 2 of this training. Ben's working capital and his other capital is greater than his profitability. So volume is detrimental to his cash. The more work he brings on, the more cash that he loses. So if Ben was to continue growing as he was, he would have actually grown bankrupt. And what's really scary is that around 65% of the companies that we work with come to us in this exact same position. The more they sell, the worse their cash is. This is why you must know these numbers in your business, or at least your accountant should be helping you with these numbers in your business. Now, moving on to cost of goods sold, COGS. If we were to reduce COGS by 1%, you would improve cash flow by $31,000, which is actually more of an impact on cash than increasing our prices were, right? Next, if we reduce overheads by 1%, you'd improve cash flow by around $7,000. Now, if we look at accounts receivable days, if we were to reduce them by 1 day, by collecting cash 1 day faster on average, we would improve cash flow by over $9,000. If we reduce WIP or stock holding by 1 day, you'd improve cash flow by $6,500. And if you increase payable days by just 1 day, so by paying suppliers 1 day slower, you would improve cash flow by the same amount. Across Ben's entire business, these 1% changes would positively impact his cash flow by $85,000, an extra $85,000 from small, simple, and realistic tweaks using only the 7 levers that I've just shared with you. Now, I want you to ask yourself, do you think that this is something that you could do in your own business? Do you think that you too could make small 1% changes across the board? Because Ben did, and his results were amazing. But here's the thing, we're only just getting started. Here's what we actually helped Ben do with his business, ABC Plumbing, for the 2022 financial year. First, Ben increased his prices by 7%. This had a $193,000 impact on his cash flow. Next, Ben also reduced his workflow by 20%. Now, at this point, most business owners would be panicking. They'd be down on their hands and knees. They'd be shouting to the sky. They'd be going, what have I done? But in Ben's case, if you remember, volume was detrimental to cash. I cannot stress how important this is to understand. Volume was detrimental to cash because chapter 2 and chapter 3 required more money, more funding than what chapter 1 net profit could produce, right? So by reducing his volume, we actually improved his cash flow by $72,000, even though it reduced his profitability by $216,000. Now, this might be hard to wrap your head around here because what I'm telling you is that by losing $216,000, Ben actually made more money. But revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. Profit does not pay your bills. Cash does. So despite the reduction in profits, Ben's business was actually far better off. Not to mention that, hey, the clients that he lost were the price focus, pain in the ass clients that created the most headaches in the business and that he was happy to part ways with. Next, Ben also reduced his COGS by 5% by being more efficient and negotiating better rates with his suppliers. And that came to a total of $156,000 in more cash. And lastly, Ben reduced his overheads by 4%. And this was through cutting out any unnecessary expenses that he didn't actually need, which came to a total of $27,000 worth of improvement in his cash flow. And that's it. At this point in time, we haven't even adjusted anything across the remaining 3 levers. But despite this, all up, these small changes that Ben made generated an extra $450,000 in cash. And this extra $450,000 took ABC Plumbing from losing $270,000 in cash in 2021 to making $179,000 in cash in 2022, which is just a monster transition in the business. Now, some of you might be listening right now thinking, well, hey, if I was running a $3.4 million business, I'd want more reward than $179,000 from my business. But I think this is a hell of a lot better than being on the brink of going under and literally losing everything that he had worked so hard to build. And from this foundation, we're going to continue working with Ben and we're going to continue optimizing each of these 7 levers. And he'll be making hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cash every single year moving forward, which is exactly what you want as a hardworking business owner. But without this understanding of his story, Ben would never have known why he was profitable on paper, but not making any money. And things likely would have gotten much, much worse. So looking at this table, how many 1% changes do you think your business would need to make thousands and thousands of dollars worth of extra cash? Because these kind of results would be achievable in your business too, wouldn't they? Now, here's another example to show you more about what is possible using these 7 levers. Here we have another client of ours that I'm going to refer to as XYZ Electrical. Like always, we first determine how much cash they've made. Firstly, we identify how much they've made in Chapter 1 net profit, which in this case was $127,000. We then calculate how much Chapter 2 working capital they invested in 2021, which was $102,000. So that's $85,000 plus $59,000 minus $42,000. Then lastly, we calculate how much Chapter 3 other capital they invest in 2021, which was actually $0. So that is $127,000 plus negative $25,000 plus $0 minus $102,000. That means that XYZ Electrical made a little over $25,000 in cash in 2021. So after making $127,000 in net profit, they were only left with $25,000 in cash. They believed they could be doing better, and we agreed. So again, what we did was model out what would happen from just 1% changes across the board using the 7 levers. Here you can see that this would have an impact on cash flow of $50,000. So just by adjusting their 7 levers by 1%, they could put an extra $50,000 worth of cash in their bank account, which is actually a 300% increase in cash. And, there's a lot you can do with an extra $50,000 in cash. Like $50,000 would help your business quite a bit, wouldn't it? But here's what actually happened. They increased their prices by 10%, which actually caused them to lose 10% of their volume. But when price is 4.5 times more sensitive to cash than volume, that is, every 1% increase in price equates to over $16,000 in cash, whereas volume was only $3,600, that meant sacrificing more work for a gain in pricing was actually a no-brainer for our client. In fact, sales would have to decrease 4.5% for every 1% increase in price for our client to be worse off purely from a cash perspective. And I can confidently tell you right now, we have never had a client lose over 4.5% of their workflow from just a 1% increase in price. Not even close to that. So I guess if you could invest $1 to get $4.50 back, wouldn't you do the same? Make sure that you understand the math in your business. In this case, our client only lost 10% of their volume with a 10% increase in price. And in the process, they actually made an extra $124,000 in cash. Outside of price and volume, they also managed to reduce their COGS by 5%, their overheads by 10%, and their receivable days, payable days, and WIP/stock days by 2 days, which all up created an extra $269,000 in cash, which is almost an increase of 1,200% from 2021. Which is huge, absolutely huge. I mean, what could you do with an extra $269,000 worth of cash? Could you buy that dream car? Send your kids to a better school, get those toys that you've always wanted, or take that expensive holiday with the family, finally get that investment property to start setting up for your retirement, or, get that dream home that you've always wanted with an extra $269,000 worth of cash every single year in your bank account. There is a lot you could do, believe me. And this is really because cash equals opportunity. Cash is going to allow you to seize the opportunities around you when they arise. Whether that's opportunity in your personal life, like buying the dream home, as soon as it comes on the market, or getting the caravan that's being sold at a good price, or that small window of opportunity to get your kids into a great school, right? Or if it's opportunity in business, like being able to comfortably tackle that bigger project that you've been invited to quote, or being able to snatch up a superstar A player by offering the best salary package in the market, or being able to invest in the best accounting service that's going to help you make even more cash, right? Without cash, you cannot capitalize on opportunity. You can't pay for things with revenue or profit. It is cash that matters most. This is why we have put together this training. And this is why these 7 levers are so powerful, because they are your key to making more cash in your business. And it really is as simple as this. How many 1% or one-day changes do you want to make in your business? That's it. That is the only question that you should be asking yourself. So at this point in our training, you really only have 2 choices. You can choose to continue doing things the old way, the limiting way, and I call this maintaining the status quo. This is where you choose to do nothing with this information that I've given you today. Not sure how that's going to help you, but it is a choice. Or option 2, you choose to actually implement what I just showed you. Not just think about it and say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or leave this training excited, but not take any action, but actually take this into the real world, into your own business, and put it to use where it actually counts. That is my recommendation, because this is why we have put this training together for free, so that people just like yourself can learn what to do, implement what we're telling you, and then get results without having to pay a cent, so that we can prove to you that these systems work. So which of these 2 options can you see yourself doing? Do you think that focusing on the 7 levers in your business instead of what you are currently doing is likely to make you more cash? Now, You might be thinking, of course, obviously I choose option 2, Bailey, but making 1% or one-day changes isn't really that simple. It might be easy for you to just sit there behind a desk, mull out the numbers and say, hey, this is what you need to do. But how am I actually supposed to do that? It's not as easy as you make it out to be. Well, I'll tell you exactly how to do it because me and my team help people do this all the time.